So first we're going to be removing the air cleaner. Couple Phillips heads to take these retaining rings off. Unplug the MAF sensor. It's been on here for 30 something years, so it's a little stiff. Next we're going to take off this plate on the top that exposes the bolts. There's 4 Torx fasteners that hold it down. And there's the 2 bolts, 2 of 6. Next you're going to pop off the throttle linkage. Just pops right off. It's a retainer, press retainer. Two 10mm that hold the throttle linkage plate on. 2 fuel lines. Idle control valve. These are all simple plugs. Couple vacuum lines here and there. And a couple plugs. And there's 6 bolts here. Easiest first. There's 2 in the back. They're accessible, you just gotta move the wires out of the way. Take a couple more vacuum lines off of the back of the intake. And you lift it up, you'll see there's a hose connected under here before you can take it off. Just gotta slip that off. That one's on there really good, so gotta wiggle it good. So I pulled the intake off, and you can now access these bolts for the valve cover. See the bolt pattern on here. So the 6 bolts on the valve cover, and I've removed them all. Gotta give it a little nudge to break it loose. It'll come out, plenty of room. And the old cork gasket here is just disintegrated. It's the original gasket on the car. It's a 1989. So it was leaking pretty bad. All nice and clean otherwise though. predominantly leaking towards the rear section of it. So you gotta scrape all this off really good. And here's the new gaskets. Bought them on Amazon. Here's the part numbers. Pretty simple. It's not rocket science. Line that up. And we're putting the valve cover on. It's a trick I'll show you on the other side. I didn't show it on this side, but it's a way to line up the bolt and the gasket. So I'm using a blowgun just to blow all this crap out of here from mouse droppings and acorns and all this crap. Blow it out of here real good. Same procedure, 6 bolts, all easily accessible. Easily accessible now that the intake's off of it, but it would be impossible to do without removing the intake. Same thing. Pull that out of there. Scrape the gasket off. This one's in better shape than the other side was. The new gaskets are made of rubber, not cork like this. This may have worked in the period, but definitely not anymore. Nice little one-handed gasket lineup. So I'm going to show you the trick where we put the valve cover on and just put a pick tool through the bolt hole to kind of sync everything up, because it's tough to line it up. I just use a straight pick. Just push that down in there, and then set your bolts in. You can see it wants to go all over the place. Just like that. And then you put them in on the other areas of it. And you put all 6 in first before you cinch them down. And I would like to work from the center out, just like you would a head gasket. So we got to put this upper intake gasket back on. I'm reusing it perfectly fine. And pretty much reverse operation here. So I put all these in and made sure they were at least started before I go and cinch these down. I'm like working from the center out. So we got this breather hose. Gotta jam that back into the block. everything has retained its shape, so it kind of wants to fall back where it belongs. Need the 2 vacuum lines on the back of the intake. And whatever this hose is. I believe it's a coolant hose, but it connects to the intake itself. I'm not doing that with my bare hands. Put the fuel lines back on. Little breather hose. And the idle control valve, or sensor, or whatever you want to call it. Pretty sure that's what that is. Reconnect the throttle linkage with the 10mm bolts. What the? Can't give me a hard time. Yep, miss it, another plug. I think it's just important to show the assembly of it, even though you took it apart. It is to show the disassembly for various reasons, but just reference material is one of the primary ones. We're going to pop the throttle linkage back on. This pushes on. This procedure is going to apply for any 302 with the electronic fuel injection, and probably with carbureted too. But this is a 1989 5.0. I lubed up the hose with WD-40 to make it easier to slip back on. Tighten these down, and that's pretty much the job. So, congratulations. I'm gonna give you a walk around the car. I started building this car a few months ago. Nothing special, but has no rust. And just started to finish painting the interior. It's covered in dust right now, but I'm going to be reassembling shortly after I get the body painted, which is slated to come up in a couple weeks. It's going to be candy apple red. So maybe we'll make another video sometime. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and have a wonderful evening.